You know, a lot of you have asked me before, Manic, how do I get into YouTube? How do I become a YouTuber? And a lot of you do feel the need to invest in the top of the line equipment, take a whole 4-year course on how to edit videos. Because it does seem like the direction a lot of content is going in is very overproduced, made to just appeal to the lowest common denominator and those that don't even speak English. Think of something like the Mr. Beast subtitles and the way he edits. It's all finely crafted in a way to get that Gen Alpha attention span. The attention span being like 2 seconds maybe. But the truth is, there is still hope out there, because if a channel like Nintendine can take off in the big 2025, then you should be good making the most bottom of the barrel content ever. All you have to do is find one topic and rage bait it endlessly, and make sure that all of your takes will never, ever slightly contradict anything you previously said, because when that happens, when you add any sort of nuance, that's when your audience will turn on you. Unfortunately for me, I actually have integrity, and I like to tell something called my opinion or the truth. I'm willing to call something great or horrible, even if it may not be the most popular amongst my audience. And I stand on business saying that I was completely vindicated on Palworld. But for those unfamiliar with Nintendine, let's give you a bit of a history lesson. Now hear me if you've heard this one before. He's a white guy that reviews Nintendo games on YouTube.com.
Do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down?
Okay, to be fair, he reviewed Sonic games too. But the point is, he was just another bottom of the barrel reviewer of video games. Nothing special. Trust me, we have seen enough Donkey Kong Country retrospectives to last us a lifetime. It's run its course. So after a few years of going absolutely nowhere, making reviews about Sonic games and Mario games, basically every single game that's on a Nintendo platform, he decided that he would switch it up quite a bit. Instead of just doing one video to review Super Mario 64, he decided to split up his review of Super Mario 64 by a level. And this is where he first started taking off. Which, to give credit where credit's due, that's a pretty good gimmick. I'm sure there's over a bajillion Super Mario 64 reviews out there, and it's nice to have it broken up level by level. This also assisted in Nintendine's goal to make it a daily upload. So every single day at the same time, you would be seeing one level reviewed of Super Mario 64. Then that continued to the DS remake, then continued further to Super Mario Sunshine, and then talking about all the tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And then after that, Super Mario Galaxy. Now, whether it be that he had to adhere to a consistent upload schedule, or he just didn't care, most of the analysis of the video games he talked about were very surface level. It's the same kind of feeling that you get when you watch a whole video essay that's hours long on some TV show, but it's all just plot synopsis. Think of something like that, but you're talking about literal Mario platforming levels. Like, you passed by the volcano here, that's how you get this star, Dude, we don't care. Like, can you please tell us your opinions on the video game that we're talking about? If I wanted a recap of the video game, I would play the fucking video game. Dude, I just clicked on a random Nintendine video of this era. It's his review of the Turnip Cup from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as part of the Booster Course Pass. And I shit you not, take a wild guess in the comment section down below. How long does it take for Nintendine to actually get into the content of the video? Is it 1 minute, 1 minute 30, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes? Tell me what you think, and don't cheat. I'll know if you're cheating. It takes 3 minutes and 30 seconds for him to even list the tracks in the cup. And then it takes another 30 seconds for him to actually get into the course New York Minute itself. A lot of it just being preamble about, how he loves New York, the real life city, not the course.
New York is one of my favorite cities in the world. First time I even went was in my mid to late 20s. But now I find myself going back there almost every year.
In terms of actually talking about the course New York Minute itself, he only goes about it for only 1 minute and some change. And a lot of it is the recap that I was telling you, how it's just a plot synopsis, but for a literal Mario Kart track. Yes, please guide me through what a literal Mario Kart track is like.
As soon as you start, you make your way straight into Central Park, which I think the nighttime setting makes it look more unique than it would if it was daytime. Once you make it back to the starting line, this time you're going to go left. Back through Central Park, dodge a few bursting sewer manholes and taxicabs, And as you wrap up the third lap, you might notice things like the Empire State Building, the Rockefeller Center, and even Broadway.
I have genuinely never heard worse commentary on video games in my life. Not only does Nintendine fail to completely recap the course and tell you all the intricacies about it, he just doesn't really give all that much of a substantial opinion about it either. And when you're lacking both of that, you can't really tell why he feels a certain way that he does. With that being said, if he was just a mediocre video game reviewer, then frankly, I would have nothing to say. And frankly, there'd be no reason for me to make a video, okay? There's a dime a dozen of like very shitty reviews out there. And I would see no reason to punch down on a small channel that just reviews Nintendo games. But at the end of this Galaxy retrospective, this just so happened to coincide with the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. After the prices were revealed for the Nintendo Switch 2 and its games and accessories, Nintendine released the video why I'm not buying the Nintendo Switch 2. And let me be very clear, I do not care if he's buying it or not. That's really his decision at the end of the day. He has his reasons, I'm fine with that. It's when you make it your entire personality that you don't have a Switch 2 that it just gets really annoying. So instead of making these extremely piss poor analysis of video games, he instead does extremely piss poor analysis of the video game industry as a whole. Because if there's one thing that we didn't need more of, it's these dime a dozen video game news channels. The hilarious gimmick with this channel is that he constantly have a stick up his ass. He genuinely sounds like a coping ex-lover, making nitpicks about every single aspect of his ex just to make himself feel better about no longer being in that relationship. That's how you get some banger titles such as Nintendo and the Art of Gaslighting. Furukawa is not Nintendo. Nintendo Switch 2 is not a true handheld console. The Joy-Con drift proved Nintendo hates their fans. Nintendo Switch 2 price increase scare tactic. Bowser is Nintendo's villain. Genuinely, does he understand that the American branch of a Japanese company really doesn't have all that much say? It's not like Doug Bowser himself was the one determining the price of everything. And of course, all of these videos are over 8 minutes long. What did you think? He's just gonna yap at you about a bunch of bullshit for free? Like, genuinely, imagine being the type of person to click on Mario Kart World split screen is bad. It's a 19-minute video about, guess what? Split screen in Mario Kart World, if it's 3 players or above, will be in 30 frames per second. That was the same case as for Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8 for both the Wii U and Switch. This really isn't new. He had no issues with this previously, but then he drones on and on how it's some conspiracy to hold back the game from its true potential, to convince other people to buy Switch 2s.
If you're playing split screen for anything more than 2 players, you're still knocked down to 30 frames per second.
Now, I have a question for you, the audience. If you are playing Mario Kart split screen, who are you likely to play it with? Did you answer family? Let's go from there. Now, is there anybody in your family that you play with who's likely going to notice the difference between 60 frames and 30 frames on a quarter of the screen? Mind you, this is 4-player split screen, so you don't have all that much real estate. Now, let's just say hypothetically you said, yes, my mother is very perceptive about frame rates. Yeah, sure, we'll believe you. Now let's go even further. Do you think your mother is going to buy a second Switch 2 and hook it up to a second TV, all for the sake of 4-player split screen without the drawbacks of 30 frames per second? No? Well, Nintendine doesn't quite agree with that. He genuinely thinks that Nintendo is having this fucking ploy to sell more Switch 2s only by handicapping the frame rate, but only when the split screen is 3 players or above. I would really love to think that he's making shit up, laughing as he goes about it, just to increase watch time.
Let's pretend for a second that the reason why they won't let you play online with 4 people is actually because they want everybody to be at 60 FPS, which I don't believe is true at all, by the way. I think they're clearly limiting it just to sell more units for the people that actually want to play more than 4 players in the same room.
But this isn't exactly a Mutahar situation. He is not a grifter. I would never call him that.
And, you know, one of the things that I kind of read was like, the grifter stuff. You were just grifting on that hate. Well, if I was grifting on the hate and I released that, video, I would probably be overly negative, or I would try to spread some level of misinformation to garner more viewership on hating the device or loving the device.
But he is definitely getting a little high on his own supply. Now, as Father's Day is in June, and the Switch 2 launched earlier that month, what do you think Nintendine would do if his children gifted him a Switch 2 for Father's Day? Comment down below. Mind you, this is not me making a hypothetical statement because Nintendine said as much in this video, Nintendo Switch 2 launch sales predictions. Editor, roll the clip.
But I'm hearing whispers around my family, rumors that I might be getting a Switch 2 as a Father's Day gift. Now, I don't know for sure, but if that happens, I will not be using that Switch 2, and if anything, I might give it away to one of my viewers.
So you're telling me the thing that sparked this whole controversy was the price of the console, and then also the price of the video games. But you won't even use the console if you're given it for free by your own family. This man has succumbed to the brain rot so deep that he's willing to reject a family present to him.
I'm not sure how I'll do that. Maybe I'll just pick a random free member on Patreon or something. But if I do receive one, I'll either make a post about it or I'll mention it in a video and say just become a free member temporarily, and I'll just pick a random person and give it to, because I have no intention on using a Switch 2 at this point, even if it is a gift. Because can you imagine, after the last 2 months, if I showed up on day 2 after the Switch's launch saying that I have a Switch 2? At that point, even I would call myself a grifter. Luckily, I don't think anybody in my family actually watches this channel, so they won't know that I'm giving it away. So if I do indeed receive one, I should be in the clear to give it away without hurting anybody's feelings.
This was the moment that I knew that I had to make a video on this guy. I have showed multiple people this clip with no context. And mind you, most of them don't even have a Switch 2 and aren't particularly interested in Nintendo games in general. Even those people I've showed it to have called you things, Nintendine. They have called you things I cannot say on YouTube. You do not have to reject your own children's gift just to avoid being called a grifter. If anybody is calling anybody else a grifter just for accepting a present from their child, that person is genuinely a low IQ mongrel. This is a completely different situation from Mutahar being in the line midnight release for Switch 2, despite saying otherwise. With all your criticisms, it's not like you're the one that got the Switch 2. Oh yeah, and by the way, he completely doubled down in the comments section. And that comment he made about his family not watching his YouTube channel, well, that turned out not to be the case, as in a later video, the Nintendo Switch 2 is worse than the Switch OLED in 2025. Nintendine mentions how somebody in his family knew that he was boycotting the Switch 2. So unless Nintendine was spurging about this to his whole family at the dinner table, then that implies that somebody in his family found his YouTube channel.
Now, recently, I mentioned to a few of you a few weeks ago that I would be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 around Father's Day. So that was actually the plan. What ended up happening, though, was somebody in my family figured that out and was like, yo, he's doing a boycott, don't get it for him. And as such, they decided to get me an OLED.
And also, isn't it fairly weird that the immediate alternative to a Switch 2 is just a Switch OLED? Who in his family thought, oh yeah, he's boycotting Nintendo, so let's get him the old version. If he's the sharpest tool in that shed, then we truly are cooked. So at the end of the day, he's just that guy that you kind of share the opinion with, but he's so annoying about it, you don't even want to be in the same room as him. But hey, unlike Mutahar, Nintendine actually believes the bullshit he spews out of his mouth. So there's that at least. So I am recording this audio well after the fact because Nintendine released quite possibly his worst video yet. At this point, I'm convinced that the only people that actually watch this guy and agree with him are actually victims of lobotomy somehow. The practice has been illegal for a while now, but they still managed to be completely brain dead. Even when Nintendo does something mildly interesting or mildly cool, he still has to find a way to spin it as negative. And he does that in the "let's all grift for Mario Paint." And mind you, this is 8 minutes and 27 seconds long. So yes, he is definitely grifting. 2 hours after a trailer for a little SNES game getting ported to Switch and Switch 2 came out, Nintendine was very quick to pounce, decrying everybody who dare likes Mario Paint. He is quite literally calling out this, like, he's not actually calling anybody out. He's just saying that there are these YouTube channels that will just like glaze and come all over their Switches because Mario Paint is on it. Does he really not understand that he is the same thing, but in the opposite direction? And if anything, he's even worse, because instead of just talking about the game itself, and even if you're like some elder millennial or Gen X, you may love Mario Paint. And oh, this is so nostalgic for me. I'd rather hear some nostalgic boomer talk about how good things were back in the day than talk about this fucking guy who is talking about video game discourse, presumably on the hardcore Nintendo forums and Twitter. If there's anything that doesn't need to be like served to me on a YouTube platter, it does not need to be video game discourse from Twitter. That can stay in its own insane asylum. Don't bring that energy here to YouTube, please.
I want you guys to keep your eyes just nice and wide open about the type of content that's going to come around following this video, following the Microsoft Paint. Gosh, there's going to be like streams and there's going to be like memories and it's gross. I mean, the people's memories aren't gross. If they're genuine, that's one thing. But it's like the endless need for excitement to chase what's hyped around on the internet. And clearly right now, Mario Paint is going to be considered as big as Mario Kart World in a few minutes.
This guy, Nintendine, is a genuine tumor on the internet. He loves to call out the behaviors of other YouTubers simply just because they're excited for a video game, yet doing the exact same thing, jumping on all the same trends, except he's just taking a negative slant. Which I indulge in my fair share of negativity, but this guy is just such a bore, and he is just so annoying about it that even if I do somewhat agree with the premise of the video, the way he phrases it makes it just such a toxic position. It makes me want to run out and buy 500 Nintendo Switch 2s. This man is like the vegan of video gaming. He loves to ride on his moral high horse while being just a complete scumbag on the inside. So yeah, fuck Nintendine, fuck every single one of his videos. He genuinely needs to get his phone taken away from him, far, far away. I never want to be cursed with seeing one of his horrible, horrible takes on anything in the future. And for all of you who have been asking for this video on Nintendine, first, thanks for watching the channel and thanks for engaging in the content. And two, I hope you got what you wished for. If you liked this, then perhaps you should comment down below who I should go after next. And if you really like this video and consider sponsoring or supporting the channel in any way, my memberships are open and you'll gain access to a members exclusive Discord server. And I may sprinkle in some early release videos for you all, just as a little cherry on top. And of course, make sure you just keep it on this channel. I do not want to hear anything from him ever again. If any of you actually link me, just like one of his takes, please don't. I just want this to be this one video and I'm done. Unless this gets like 1 million views, then, you know, I think I'm obligated to milk it there, right?